Welcome back to Build for Health, where we pull back the curtain on what it takes to build a strong, healthy body and a fitness routine that sticks. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Srdjan Inyats, and today, conventional wisdom says aging means slowing down, accepting decline, and treating your body like something fragile, something to be protected. The science says the opposite. The people who train into their 60s, 70s, and beyond don't just feel younger. They biologically apparently are younger in almost every measurable way. This week is all about why it's never too late, why too old to lift is one of the most dangerous myths in medicine, and what training actually looks like when you're working with decades of life experience instead of against them. Let's get into it. Srdjan, hi.
Yes, hello.
So I got this new scale because you told me to. Ironically, you told me to. And so I got the scale, but it has one of the measures. It detects it sends the little pulse. It's like your in-body, but it's much, much cheaper. And you stand on it.
Well, it sounds more sophisticated because it sends you you can see your pulse. That's when you can't.
Oh, you can't? No, I can do pulse, but it also gives you your vascular age and your metabolic age, right?
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what any of those things mean, but I know that now that I've been doing it for a few weeks, it tells me that my vascular age is my chronological age. They equal, which I guess is okay, but apparently I can bring that number down somehow by building more muscle and being more fit as I age. That's pretty cool.
Yes, I actually had a couple of my clients, they do this blood test, and apparently when they get the results, it tells them what age they are. Like if, and one of my clients says it's like, I'm 10 years younger. And her husband's like, I'm actually 14 years younger. It's like, so
that's awesome.
It's very interesting. I kind of want to do it too. I want to see where I'm at.
Yeah, right. Science, man. Well, That's kind of what we're getting at here, because I do think that conventional wisdom that I understand in my 50s says I need to be doing more of this kind of stuff as I age. It's really important because of things we've talked about before. That, I know I lose muscle as I age. I probably should have started much earlier, but feeling okay about just doing it. And that I don't need to be quite so, or that we as humans don't need to be quite so precious with our bodies as we age. We need to keep moving and keep lifting heavy things. And that's what I want to talk about today.
Yeah, it's very different. Like I do get a lot of people, they're in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, and they come in, they're like, I might be too old for this. And I'm like, no, you're not actually. Nobody's too old. I think you start getting old when you stop working out. That's when you start getting old. It's a little bit different, so if you're 60s and you're 70s and you think it's too late to get even stronger, it's not, and in fact, it's more important to work out now than ever when you're in at that age. And the goal shifts kind of from aesthetic to more independence, from looking fit to staying capable of doing all those daily activities. So, the whole reality of aging, like after 30, we naturally start losing muscle mass, right? And then after 60,
30, just let that sink in 30, for a minute.
It starts.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you're thinking where you're at now, and if you haven't been working out, and that's when you actually start losing, right after 30. So after 60, that loss like accelerates, and it almost like doubles. It's crazy. Oh. So it's never too late, and it's more important than ever. That's what's called sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle mass that comes with aging, and you can't prevent that without actually doing resistance training. Muscle declines, bone density decreases, the balance worsens, the reaction time slows down, And the big thing, it's the fall risk that increases. And the falls are one of the leading causes of injury related to death in adults over 65.
So someone comes into you and says, well, first of all, let me ask this. I guess I'm curious, and I don't want you to give away specific names, but in terms of your clientele, what percentage of the people that you work with would you classify in this category?
I want to say over like probably 70%.
Seriously?
80% are over 40 years old.
Okay.
Which is great. And they are actually just capable of seeing results just like 20-year-olds, only that they can increase the muscle mass, they can get stronger. And I had people in their 70s come in and start working out and, watching what they eat, and they do get stronger and they do get more muscle mass. So it's not like that, it's not possible anymore. Like you're just aging, you're too old and you're never going to gain muscle anymore. It's like you still can do all that stuff.
I feel like if I'm 68 and I'm thinking, it's so hard for me to put myself in the head of a 68-year-old person because of my just surface vibrance and youth. I just feel like people see me and they see like a woodland nymph. I'm so agile and free. But I'm trying to put myself in the position of 68. I'm 68 and I'm thinking, I'm listening to this podcast and I'm thinking, okay, I have said for years now that it's too late for me. And I'm terrified at what it looks like for me to actually walk through the door of the gym because I don't know how to get from sedentary to feeling stronger at this age, given years of not paying much attention to it. How do you help someone build confidence enough to walk through the door?
Well, you start slow. You start with the small things that are measurable, that are achievable, and they see that they can actually do these things, that it's possible. It's so it doesn't look too scary, and they'll do it, and they're like, oh, I can actually do this. It actually felt good, and they feel good when they're done afterwards, when they walk out, and then makes them want to come back for more. And then you kind of show them where they can progress and how they can progress and where they can get to and all this stuff. So you have to start slow. You can, just jump into this crazy routine and, and plus they'll just get hurt at that point. Like when you're at that age, you have to be more careful, So, doesn't mean you can't still lift heavy. You can still lift heavy, but you got to be more safe with how much you lift. Usually people are like, oh, you're older, you shouldn't be lifting heavy. And you probably should. It's good for you. It just, when I say heavy, I mean weight that's challenging for you, not the weight that's too crazy and you're trying to impress someone and, you're going to get hurt, but you have to be challenged. So, if you don't give your body reason to change, it's not going to. So that's what I mean by heavy. Because, the goals changes. Like in your 20s, it's more about performance. And when you're in your 40s, aesthetic and health. But when you're in your 60s, it's more about independence and, survival and being able to do things. So, when everything starts declining, the only way to stop it from declining is to do resistance training and put a little bit more pressure. So that's why challenge yourself. You can still do that in your 60s, 70s, and 80s.
What does that look like though? Because I know we've talked about how hard it is to build muscle as you get older. When you're also losing muscle, it's like you're fighting. You're constantly fighting a percentage loss battle every single year over year over year, and being able to make a sort of contribution against that muscle loss debt seems impossible when you are just starting at an older age. How do you get people over that hump?
Well, you start slow, but you can just, train. That's when nutrition matters more. as you get older. More protein, you try to focus on that, not less. You try to eat around 0.71 gram per pound of body weight. Now that you have a dial down and eat more protein, and you do all these things that will help you gain the muscle, it will eventually happen. It's just a little bit slower, maybe than when you're in your 20s and your 30s. But you just got to be a little bit more patient, because a lot of people want that instant results and they see it fast and all that stuff. So now you have to be actually more careful, put in more work, be a little more patient, and eventually it does happen. You just got to stay consistent. And that's why I do these measurements with my clients, and so they can actually see that things are changing, like it's happening, maybe slower paced, and it's just, so when they see that, then they're more likely to stay and continue.
We've spent the last couple of weeks talking about programming, and I would love to know what is different about programming for an aging member of the gym versus somebody in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. How are you approaching programming to help someone build back when they are coming from that sort of age-related, sarcopenia-related deficit?
Yeah, so the training doesn't have to be extreme, but more intentional. So you still strength train 2 to 3 times a week. There's a progressive overload. Do the balance war with core stability, you do mobility, so you focus maybe a little bit more on compound movements, squats, rows, different push variations, hinges, loaded carries, and you train movements that translate to real life, but you still train about 2-3 times a week, and you still try to challenge yourself, go a little bit heavier, and you focus on those compound movements. It's not too much different from the trainings when your 30s, 40s. Just, you might want to avoid some of the exercises that are a little bit more riskier. Pretty much it's pretty similar, pretty same also, also with the nutrition as well.
If you get really good at your squats, then you can get out of bed, you can get off the toilet. There's some pretty good survival skills right there.
Like I said, at some point the goal shifts, and so it's not about the abs anymore. It's more about the independence. Can you get off the floor without help? Can you carry your own groceries? Can you, catch yourself if you trip and, try to fall down? And, so that's the strength. So the aging doesn't make you fragile. It's just inactivity does. So
do you ever run into the mental block working with older clients? The idea that I'm feeling a little bit helpless because I'm still grieving what I was in my 20s, in my teens, the body I used to have, the capability I used to have, the fact that I used to be an athlete and now I'm just old.
Yeah, I do. And I had one guy, and he was in his late 40s, I think, a little bit early 50s. Really good shape, but he used to be an athlete. And he comes to the gym and he thinks he's still that athlete. And he still wishes that he could push this weight, and he tries, and he goes really hard. And I'm like, okay, you got to slow it down. It's like, I just don't know how. I remember being there and having all these muscles and being able to move and having all this strength. And he tried, and I remember he came in one day and he was like, yeah, I came over the weekend, did the workout, and I think I hurt my shoulder. And he kind of tore his rotator cuff a little bit, because when I
did it,
he's over there. He tried pushing more and more, and he thought he could handle it, and it, his body's not the same, and he just did too much, and lost his form, and he hurt himself. And now the recovery is way longer than it would have been when he was 20. So he was going to see my chiropractor and all that stuff, and he's still like not 100%. He was like, I'm kind of 80. I can still feel it. It's like, it's so frustrating. I'm like, I know the goal is a little bit different now. The training is a little bit different, but you can still do it. You can still gain muscle mass. It's just you got to realize what you're capable of and not go too crazy,
Yeah.
and slow it down. And now he's a little bit more careful. Now he listens when I
Yeah, I
tell him.
bet.
So now he knows, but he learned the hard way. But some people just like can't, but there's a lot of people that said, well, I've been always athletic, and they stop and they just think because they've been athletic before and they had muscle mass that it will just stay there, because they used to work out when they're 20s, 30s and they're good. And as soon as they stop, the aging will catch up to you. Like if you're not active, it doesn't matter that you were athlete before, then you will lose that muscle mass.
Happens so fast.
Oh,
It happens
so much
fast.
faster. I know. One guy that came back like from 6 weeks, and he was like, "I was only 6 weeks, and I got so much weaker, and it took me so much time. It took me so long to gain all the strength, and now I got to do it again." I'm like, I know that's athlete's worst enemy, like the injuries.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you said something just now that gets me thinking about the comparison trap, right? The more you go into the gym, really you go into anything and measure your current performance and abilities against your peak performance from 30 years or more prior. It seems to be one of the biggest psychological barriers to successful training as you age.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing there but a recipe for depression.
I mean, the exercise, it helps a lot. I mean, you got to think about not just your strength and all that stuff, but you got to think about your metabolic health. Everything declines. It's not just your strength, and resistance training also improves not just muscle strength and mass, but metabolic health, such as blood glucose control, blood pressure, cholesterol, and inflammation. And these are all the factors that are tied to diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. So you have to think about that too. And if you do resistant training on a regular basis, you can see improvements in the blood lipid profiles, inflammation markers, the body composition, of course. So you got to think about your overall health of your body. So it's not just the strength and be able to do things. Because I think last year I had someone come in and he was like, I realized I need to start working. He was in his 70s and he was traveling, and he realized that he couldn't lift his baggage, like his carrier in a plane, and he had to ask somebody else to help him. And he was like, I don't want to be like that. And then he was getting sick more often and stuff like that. So everything slows down.
We're talking a lot about metabolic stuff. What about neurological benefits? I mean, especially in an era where it feels like around every corner I turn, somebody I'm close to is saying, "Oh, well, I got my granddad's suffering from effects of dementia. We're seeing neurological decline everywhere." Or do you see in your practice people who are seeing specific neurological benefits? I know the science says yes, that the brain muscle connection improves. But I'm wondering what
their
that looks
memory
like
improves.
practically.
They say, "Oh my, the memory improves." Actually, they remember stuff, and they say, "I'm not forgetting all these things," and they're able also to focus on things that they're doing, and so it does have a lot of benefits. It's crazy. It's so important, and people think it's just only for one thing, and it's for everything. Your entire body, the way it functions. It's just crazy. And I had people coming off the medications because they started lifting weights and they do resistance training, and the doctors will take them off a couple of their medications, and they get excited. They're like, "Oh my God, why didn't I do this? Why have I been taking these meds when I could have just prevented all this and started earlier?" Yeah, they just go to the doctor, they give them the meds, and there you go. You just treat the symptom. You don't really heal from that system. You don't take care of that system. It's just putting almost like a Band-Aid on it.
Well, just as we get toward wrapping up here, I know we've talked about the fitness team approach before, and I know that you've talked about working with other folks, especially when we're talking about aging population. What do you see as the perfect team of specialists that would work with you, occupational therapist, physical therapist, what is my 68-year-old imaginary avatar going to need to count on when beginning training?
Well, we work all together. We can all help you in different areas, and you can benefit from all of us. I do that now, and I'm not my 60s, 70s, or 80s, but I still go to my chiropractor regularly, and I get get the adjustments. I go see my massage therapist and, get the massages, do all that stuff, and then my training and all that stuff. I mean, we all treat different and do different things, and they're all pretty beneficial. And I even, which is weird for me to say, but I started doing a little bit more. Like I remember a couple of times I would find a yoga for beginners on my phone and start doing a little bit of that too, because it's important.
Shocked, I tell you,
all that stuff, can actually help me even in gaining more muscle mass. Because if I start using Pilates, which is great for flexibility and your, it will improve my range of motion. It will increase, and that will help me gain more muscle as well, because now my range of motion is bigger. I'm able to use more of my, recruit my muscle fibers and all that stuff. So it does help. So, and, I want to be able to move and have the mobility and flexibility and all that as I age, because I might be fine now. I feel okay now, but eventually it will slow down, and I don't want to. So with all this stuff, you start early. Just because you feel good now doesn't mean, I'm okay, I don't need it, But then they come to me when they start already losing everything. I'm like, well, where were you before this? Just because you feel now, that would be perfect time to start, because you feel good. You can do all these things. Now you can push yourself. That's, it's a reason to go and do this. Don't wait till you can't do it and then go and maybe maybe it's too late for me and stuff like that. Even though it's not, it's just going to take a little bit longer. But do not wait. Trust me, do not wait.
Yeah, because eventually your goal will change from looking good to just, am I going to be independent as I age? And that's a scary time to have that kind of awakening.
Yeah, because I always say, and I love the saying that, aging, we all age. Aging is inevitable, but weakness is not.
Oh, that's good. Oh, I like that a lot. Aging is inevitable. Weakness is not.
Weakness is not.
Oh, man. Put that on a shirt. That's
I know.
Great.
I need to.
That's awesome.
It's inevitable. It's going to happen, but weakness.
You don't have to be weak. You don't have to go down with the ship.
Don't. I know a lot of folks that are 60, 70, 80s. Man, they can push some weight and they can do things that are just like, wow, that's my goal. I want to be like that when I'm that age. And it's impressive. That's what motivates me when I see these people. It's like, wow, they're older. Like I said, you'll age, but you can still have your strength.
Okay. I like it. I like it so much. And I feel like this is the perfect, this is the time. If it's not today, then when are you going to start?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, man, aging is heavy.
Yeah, it is. It sucks.
Well, it sucks.
To be honest.
It sucks if you don't take care of yourself. How many people, I look at my in-laws, they are very, very active people, and they travel all over the world as a result, and they're able to do so much. And it's because they're constantly at the Y. They're constantly in classes. They are active and fit and aspirational. It's like you can have a life of mobility if you want to. That's the message, right?
Yeah.
It's incredible. All right. Hey, thank you, as always. I sure appreciate you, and we're glad for the rest of you who are listening. Thanks for joining us today. If you've got questions on training or recovery or how to stop chasing quick fixes and start building something that lasts, we want to hear them. Head over to the show notes, just swipe up and tap that link to send us your questions. And they'll go right to the coach. We'll answer them on an upcoming episode. Don't forget to subscribe and share. This is how we grow stronger together. Thanks for listening to Build for Health. We'll see you in the gym next week. you.